And there I am. It's working. Okay. So, Bruce, this is just a quick sequence of how I teach. Okay, so the first thing that I do is show them the 7-note roll. And this actually came out of John C. Campbell. I don't know why it hit us, but somehow early on we noticed that this would work. Now, I'm showing this roll to people who've never held a banjo, and they've been in a lesson for 10 minutes, and we're already working on this. And the reason is that it's not speed dependent. They don't have to be able to play it fast. They can play it. Now, it works with any chords in the key of G, all right? And that's it. I don't make it any more complicated, nothing. I don't introduce the idea of noting, nothing, okay? Then, and you should possibly, you may have one of these. This is the beginning banjo warm-up series, and all this does is play that roll in different clips for approximately 2 minutes. So it might have 10 or 15 of those throughout this book. And all it does is a metronome comes on, and on the screen it tells how fast they're playing, and it just does. And as as we're doing it, it will gradually increase. So after 2 minutes, you may increase by 10 beats a minute. And I think the first one, I don't even know what the first one is, but it is super slow. Okay, so now you can get out your guitar, have them do that. And if you want to sing songs, if you want to play different chord progressions, that's fine. So for example, if they were playing that, I might go G, D, and it works just fine. All right, then I tell them, look, you're in a jam session, you want to have what's called a default thing to do, which will work, and the other default thing is the single note chop. And I tell them, take their left hand and touch the strings, take your right hand using your middle finger, and with light pressure, we don't need that at all, just. And all of a sudden, now a student, most students, 80 to 90%, within about 2 minutes, with you helping them, can do that. And then all of a sudden you start playing when they're doing that, and now they have a default position. So if they get in a jam session at some point, they're not going to sit there going, what should I do? God, I just memorized Cripple Creek, but I'm so nervous I can't play. No, all they have to do is, they could do that the whole jam, and people would come up to them and say, man, I really appreciate that. Same thing, a lot of people say, oh, well, we had a bass and it really helped my timing. That's true. So this is just as powerful as having a bass. If you have a bass and this, then you've got really driving rhythm. Okay, so they can, okay. So that's those steps. Now, if you want to start on boiling cabbage down, that's fine. So you just get out the Banjo Primer book and show them how to download all the information onto their phone, and then they can start with boiling cabbage down, and which eventually will be. notice that I didn't put that split measure in there with the D7th. All right, so all of a sudden, you now have a student that can do the 7-note roll. They can play along with you by chopping, and they're working now on the first song, which is Boiling Cabbage Down. Now, depending on, so most of the time during, if it's an hour lesson, well, if it's a half-hour lesson, I would be just having that, I would just work on that. Now, I know when we were at John C. Campbell one time that you're saying, oh, well, if you want to play chords, you know, you can just note one of the strings. What I'm trying to do is limit the amount of information, okay? I mean, how much information does it take to explain that, okay? How much information do they need to have to do this? Okay, so now we are going to do a forward and backward roll and Boiling Cabbage Down. All right, now, the next thing that I've started to do, just with this one student, is I'll skip the other couple songs and I'll go to Cripple Creek and we'll work on the hammer-on lick, which is... Okay, let's try it again. And we just sit there. I can play it. They can play it. Okay? So throughout this whole process, there's no explanation, there's no theory, there's nothing except I'm going to show you something and I'm going to play along with you, and I want you just to do this. Monkey see, monkey do. Okay? Now, once you know that, then you can, and this might be the third or fourth lesson, then you can start with Cripple Creek. And so you go, and you just take each technique measure, and then you might go, and then, wait. Okay? And then, so they learn that. And once again, depending on the experience and how quickly the student progresses determines, you know, how far they're going to get. Now, generally, I would guess that about the soonest that they're going to be doing this is probably going into the third lesson, maybe even the fourth lesson, okay? So at the end, so in many cases, at the end of 3 lessons, what they're able to do is this, and then okay, so they don't have to think about anything else, and you can reward them because they're playing some of that in time and maybe all of it in time. And you can pull out your guitar and they will actually feel what it feels like to play in time. So now we work on Cripple Creek, and generally I would assign doing this where they're just going to learn that, okay? So then once we work with that, let's say we're in the 4th lesson, maybe even the 5th lesson, okay, then we can do the first part, which is pinch, and then, okay. Now they've done a 7-note roll, so their fingers are used to moving in that order. That's not a 7-note roll, but the fact that they can play a 7-note roll will let them do that. So go, and then this. Okay. No theory, no bullshit, nothing. What can they do? They can play a 7-note roll. They can play a chop. That's 2. and this chop is probably one of the most significant left out things in a jam. They can play, maybe awkwardly, boil and cabbage down. All right. They can now play the one lick in Cripple Creek, which means that they now can do a hammer-on. And maybe on the 5th lesson, or 6th, depending, you can work on the first part and so they learn to slide. Okay, then they make this position. Remember, they've been doing the 7-note roll, so they're used to their fingers doing it, and then they've been practicing this, and then it's just a matter of. So during this entire 4, 5, 6 weeks, all you're doing is talking positive. Man, and every time you have an opportunity, you just go right through the thing. Man, you can do the 7-note. Oh, hey, let's go ahead and play something. Just play some interesting chord progressions, play some lead. And they're playing in a band, okay? So then you're going, okay, well, let's do Boil Them Cabbage Down. So they struggle through that, but they can do it. That's great. So now you've worked on a song. Let's try this hammer-on. Okay, that sounds great. And then you're learning a slide. Now, remember this, there are 2 rolls, forward, and then there's backwards. And some people call the alternating thumb a roll. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And the alternating thumb is actually easier to do than the rolls, okay? That's it. We're done. You know every right hand technique that there is. And you've only had 5 or 6 lessons, okay? Left hand, hammer on. Pull off. Okay, slide. And if you want to do a choke, fine, but let's just do those 3. You've now done almost every technique that you're going to use with your left hand, every technique that you're going to use with your right hand, from now through eternity. Now, the only thing left to learn, which you can gradually introduce, are just chords. Anyway, I just thought I'd go over that, and now you have a student that's just not thinking about all this theoretical crazy stuff trying to use it. He's just doing the basics. The student's playing with good rhythm, and with the aid of your guitar and choosing some really cool songs, they get the experience of playing with somebody else.